Yeah, let's talk about what James just said, because I'm there with you, man. Uh, I have, first of all, okay, number one, I just want to say that I have no campus rhythm whatsoever. I'm going to drop the link. Okay, and by the way, I screwed it up. The video last time has no audio on YouTube. That's just totally on me. Totally on me that there's no audio on YouTube. I was trying to play a game with rolling some. We did a little bit of video stuff last time, and when I set it up, it's like I haven't figured it out yet, and I need to spend, I don't know, a couple hours or something figuring it out. I do have one other potential angle, which is I've been using a MacBook forever. I actually have a utility Windows laptop and Discord on Windows, my understanding. So, by the way, if are any of you like Discord champions, if you wouldn't mind identifying yourself, um, because Seth, yay, um, because there's a thing with Mac, and I don't know if it's just like a bug that they haven't fixed, or if there's something kind of fundamental to the Mac platform. You know what I mean? To what the OS gives you in terms of options. That basically you cannot simultaneously um, like pipe the sound in a way that's going to go out, stream it out to YouTube, and at the same time have it be audible in Discord. So it's kind of like a mutual exclusivity where it'll either be we can hear it in Discord, but it won't stream out to YouTube, or vice versa. All right, cool, Seth. Maybe we can talk. Maybe we can get this thing figured out by the end of the semester. Um, okay. Yeah, so for those handful that needed to see that remote, I am really, really sorry. That's just stupid. Oh, and right now, while we're doing this thing, let me just double check that in fact it is working remotely. Hold tight. A handful that needed to see that remote, I am really, really sorry. That's just stupid. I don't know if it is. Oh, and right now, while we're doing this thing, let me just double check that in fact it is working remotely. Hold tight. A handful that. Can somebody check from where you're at if the YouTube that's just stupid stream is producing? Just give it a quick listen and see if it's producing audio for me. Would somebody just check that? And while everybody's here, make sure and hit the attendance as always. Yeah, talking about YouTube, William. YouTube stream and does have audio. Okay. And the other thing I'm trying to figure out, oh, you know what my problem is? Let me see. My problem. No, I'm connected through my AirPods. I don't know. It's a mess, everybody. All right. Thanks, Walter. Okay. Next question. Kevin remembered the golf summit. Yeah, way to go, Kevin. James suggests that we've made it this far into the semester being remote. We got being remote. Don't we have spring break next week? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That was 2 years ago. Do you realize that it was 2 years ago next week that we at spring break where we swapped everything into remote land? Crazy, crazy. Okay, I want to try one other thing. Remember last time? So I want to it's one more. I want to talk about. Let's talk about semester real quick. So James said, we made it this far. We may as well just leave it remote. Riley said, yeah, at this point, we may as well go fully remote. Mr. Seeds is in favor of that. And yeah, Wes likes in person. Gunner suggests we can undo everything by switching from remote back to in class after spring break. Okay, you know what? This is probably a good time for me to offer up a confession. Ooh, should I offer the confession? Yeah, let's do a poll. Jiggly, let's do. Okay, I'm dropping a survey in. I'm gonna go with 1 and 2. The options are 1 and 2. Option 1 is return to in class. 2 is stay remote. Okay, I just dropped a survey in the Discord chat. The options are. Yeah, no. Here's the thing about Wes. So the in class thing is supposedly automatically streamed with the Magic cameras. They sometimes break. At one point, I was literally told that half the cameras on campus weren't working. So I just have felt like it wasn't really reliable. Um, and but what I do is when I'm in class, I do my phone and just record. Um, what's the lean right now? The lean right now is wow. We got 24 votes. That's pretty hefty. Good communication. Do we have 24 people? Who's voting multiple times? Yeah, clowns. Who's voting multiple times? No, it's close to 100%. Anyway, we're running at so far 3 for returning to in class, 16 for staying remote, and 7 for a hybrid. That's actually that's pretty compelling. The other thing too is okay. Let me see. I'm just trying to figure out. I have some news. I don't know if it's time to share my news. Let me just say this. I have some conflicts on my schedule that have shown up over the last few weeks that are making it really tough just to get to campus on time for class. That's my truth. I am speaking my truth. Um, I will tell you by the end of the semester what the nature of this Kevin, the beans. I will tell you all at the end of the semester what the beans are. Yeah, Canute, I just did. Yeah, I'm in deep, Mr. Seeds. No, I gotta hold off. Yeah, I'm taking the position formerly held by Balmer. That's Dance Monkey Boy. I'm the dancing monkey boy at Microsoft now. Yeah, I'll spill the beans. I'll spill the beans a little later, but I will just say that I am extremely conflicted, and it is just harder and harder, increasingly difficult to bust away. No, I am not the new department chair. Um, yeah, no, I don't. No, and I'm not Dr. Allison's spot because I already have the other Chuck spot. You know what I mean? The spots are more or less. Yeah, you guys, you can keep guessing, but I'll see whether I respond or not. But the downer is, I think what I might do, Seth, if you're game, I might just uh, get my Windows laptop, which is right up there, and maybe uh, roll that thing up as just sort of like the class machine. Just get it configured so that it does what I need. Because the problem is I want to be able to show videos live in class and have it stream. Yeah, William, I'm not running for president. I wouldn't want that job. Boy, wow. Yeah, no job offer at Meta, no winning of the lottery, not Iron Man. I, Mike, I'm tempted, man. I'm tempted to frickin', yeah. Anyway, all right. Oh, thank you, Seeds. Yeah, no, and I'm not the new dean. You're bad guessers. Anyway, all right. So let me just kind of keep rolling and gave you a link. So, oh, I wanted. What we got to do? We got to get through use cases. We got to get through use cases. That's what I want to do today. Is finish getting through use cases. Oh, and do you remember how slow everything? I'm supposed to be a data communications guy, right? But yeah, obviously, if you change the resolution on my side, you change the amount of pipe you're burning, shoving stuff through it. That's dumb, no brainer. And so I did fiddle around a little bit. So I think performance is significantly better. Okay. Oh, don't we need to have like, when do we have a midterm? Shouldn't we have a midterm sometime? You guys want a midterm, right? Don't you? You do. Okay, hang on a second. So I'm just trying to pull up Canvas. Give me just a second. By the way, I don't know how I'm going to check real quick about how many students we have in the class. The last time I taught 3450 in the depths of the pandemic, there were only like 15 students in the entire class. And what we did for final was we actually met at Nico's for final, and I bought everybody pizza for finals. Just as instead of a final, that was final exam, was we all met at Nico's and had pizza. It was fantastic. It was great. But we had been like this, uh, well, back then it was entirely remote. And so I hadn't seen anybody and there's no face-to-face contact whatsoever. And that was, I highly recommend it. Depending upon the head count, we'll have to see if we can. But that's why if the head count's too high, you overwhelm the restaurant and my budget. All right, I'm just pulling up. I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just pulling up the the class schedule. Oh shoot, sorry, Rory, wrong. Just a second. Wrong display. Let's try that. That's the correct display. Yeah, can you read that? Let me blow it up just a little bit. All right. So what I wanted to just sort of review where we were on the calendar. We talked about representing design, the basic overview of UML, a lot of early stuff about patterns, the design of everyday thing, Don Norman. And then we started talking about use cases. And then we're actually, we're like a day behind. That's okay. And then we got spring break coming up. And then I am still trying to figure out what to do on these days. I think I might still be out of the office. I'm not sure. But I'm trying to figure that out. Oh, and we do have midterm action coming up. You see this right here? You see the excitement? And then what I was going to do the Monday before that was midterm review. And the midterm would take the form, administered as like a Canvas quiz. You know what I mean? Just online Canvas quiz. And then we get in, and then we drop into some of these other specific kinds of things: class diagrams, sequence diagrams, object diagrams, blah, blah, blah. And in these instances, try to talk about design of software and what these UML diagrams do for us, what they help us do to think about that kind of stuff. That's where we're going. Let's see. I am scanning back on. So James, yeah, I guess I didn't actually see your comment, James, but I guess I'm talking about it. We do have a midterm, and then final is more or less the same. And seeds, the Reese's beans is just, I got to scroll up because it's just appalling. Kevin is right, it's horrifying. No download. All right, Seth. Well, let's get my Windows machine set up as my lecture machine, and because most of the rest of everything it just is hogging CPU power. Yeah. So the tests. What we'll do is essentially what I'm going to ask you. We'll get down to it here in a couple weeks, but I'm going to ask you about. Well, okay. Let me back up. So William had the question, James had the question, Gunnar has a delusion of no tests. Yeah, everybody hates midterms. No, here's the deal. What I'm going to do before the midterm is we're going to come into class and I'm going to read to you basically the midterm. I will tell you what all the questions are. Now, here's the thing. I was thinking about this just the other day. We were having a discussion among the faculty about curriculum in a certain class. And, one of the questions was whether it's adequate, to just give somebody a brush with a particular technology without making them master it. And one individual was kind of the opinion, no, they've got to know this, blah, blah, blah. And I have tended to be of the opinion that in a CS program, there's very little that you truly know that's permanently portable. And those things I think you do have to know. But the problem is that being a CS major is kind of like being a French major, but you know that French is not going to exist in 20 years. So being a CS major is like studying linguistics and then working as a French interpreter. It's just not a perfect mapping. So I don't really want you to burn a bunch of time and energy to memorize a bunch of UML. It's not going to stick, and it's not the thing that's most important. What is important is a conceptualization. When you've seen it before and you've had some ability to embrace it, you're trying, it'll come back to you. And in my experience, the more nitpicky, grungy you get on the details, this is just gospel according to Dr. K, but the more nitpicky, grungy you get on the little nubby little details and asking questions about all those nubby little details, I don't think that, I think the philosophy and the reason why some professors do that is that they have a sort of a philosophy or a belief that focusing on those nubby little details is going to have the effect of making you remember all the other big things that kind of go with it. But I just don't believe that that's true. Pedagogically, educationally, teaching wise, I don't believe that. And so, difference of opinions. So, I'd rather have you understand the concept of patterns and have gone through the Goff patterns via the Head First Design Patterns book, including answering questions like, why would I use this pattern? Why would I want that pattern? You know, um, but there's a lot of gory detail that I just really don't care about at this stage. So I might, so when we'll get down to it, I'll show you. But, I want you to know what patterns are. I want you to know what they are conceptually, a solution to a problem in a context. I want you to, I want you to understand certain high level, almost philosophical takeaways. But I don't really care if you can draw me a UML diagram, you know, for whatever, you know, I don't care. But I think if you've thought about it, and I could ask you, what are some, give me an example of some test questions you could write, or I mean, test questions, test cases that you could write if you had the following UML diagram. Could you use that for test case design? That's an interesting exercise. That's it. Gunner, let me see. Semantle. Okay, no, I'm not going to do it. So what do we got? How many people are actually here? Just out of curiosity. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 22. I don't know. Is that too much? Is that too many bodies to overwhelm Nico's? Because we could do something like that, and it would be a lot of fun. Take over the place. Seems like last time there were only like 12 or 14 students, and I think we only had like, about, there's usually some cross section that can't make it anyway. So we can figure that part out. Actual enrollment, what have we got? What did I just say? 22. I'm just checking the actual. I took it off screen so I could check the actual. The actual enrollment. I'm sure it's more than 22. 28 is the actual enrollment. And again, there are people sick, there are people permanently, conflicted. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's chew on that. We'll chew on the whole pizza thing. Mike will buy all the okay, Mike, I might be misreading you. I think you're saying you'll buy everybody's pizza in exchange for no final. So you owe Mike a tremendous debt of gratitude. So Ali, class schedule says midterms on March 23rd. Yeah, what we'll usually do is I'll just give you like the rest of that week, basically. You know what I mean? We'll talk about it on Monday, I mean, sorry, and then just have the end of the week until Sunday to do it. Kevin, can we literally? No, we can't do that. Can you really do that? Can you actually reserve the whole place? The reality is I have a lot of points. Okay, Nico's, it's spelled Nicos. It's on Cougar Boulevard in Provo. Nice. Let me see. Yeah, it's kind of Cougar and Freedom. Yeah. Ali, are we done with the reading assignments? Man, I think so. Other than, the Head First Design Patterns book, which I'm pretty sure is not what you're talking about. You're talking about the other rando readings like Copeland and Christopher Alexander and I'm looking. I think, yes, I think you're right. Oh, dear. Well, my system's being really slow again, so yeah. Um, yeah, Ollie, I think, okay, I have the thing up. We got reading assignments through what, like six? Yeah, just plan on that, okay? Plan on that being it for kind of spare reading. Um, okay, seeds. You have my interest. Did some research on the lady that posed for the creepy photo on the cover of the Head First book. Do you mean, and this is really important, do you mean the previous one that we called the skater chick? That is a photo. Are you talking about skater chick? Or are you talking about the cartoon version? Seeds? Speak for yourself here. This one, the one I have in my hand here. Fascinating. And it doesn't credit her in the book, I take it. That is really funny, actually. Yeah, we learn inside um, that no ducks were harmed in the making of this book. I don't know, man. The cover design, well, that's extra credit, I guess. You figure that out, extra credit. Um, okay, let me see. No one knows who she is. The only thing people know is that she also appeared on the front of a female hygienic product website. Wow. Wowzer. Okay. All right. Walter contributes. Wait, is that the Walter? Is that the ridge up between what's that? What's up there? What's up high up at top? Kind of Draper peak of the mountain. You know what I mean? Peak of the mountain between Salt Lake and Utah counties. That's the one. Yeah, not a bad restaurant, but they don't seem to have a lot of affection for Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday's not their favorite, apparently. That's awesome, man. Thanks for that. Thank you, Walter. That's a great contribution. Um, okay, let's see. All right. Okay, cool. I think I'm caught up on comments. All right. You guys are really good sports. Or there's like half of you that are good sports and the other half are like, F this guy, and you just walk away. Just leave it running over there in the other room. Like, it doesn't matter. Okay. Uh, let's do. I want to get through this today. UML, and I am firing it up. Oh, Gunner, cookie dough. Yeah, you're supposed to get sick from cookie dough, but I don't actually know any. My mom always said that, but I don't actually know anybody who ever has gotten sick from cookie dough. Okay, we got about to hear. I'm just going to go on a tear. I'm going to go on a tear. You understand that what I'm going for here is exposure. Hang on. I am just trying to scan what's being. I'm just trying to see how many slides there are. There are 30 slides, and we are slide 9. All right. So I'm just going for exposure here. Just trying to give you an exposure, a little bit of discussion. Some of you, and I already know who you are. you're going to ask nitpicky questions, and I'm going to say I don't know because I don't know and I don't care. Um, and if we were doing a sort of a UML shop where everything was UML, then we would care and we'd have to, learn the learn the syntax. Because some of you live in a world. There's nothing. Please don't misunderstand me. Some of you live in a world where everything's very concrete and far less philosophical and conceptual, and some of you are exactly flip. If it hasn't occurred to you yet, I actually live in a bit of a funny hybrid world of kind of a bimodal distribution between detail and sort of philosophy. But at the end of the day, for me, it's the philosophy that sticks around. And I know for some of you, until it gets concrete, it's really hard to understand what the hell's going on. So I just saying I get that. That's fair, okay? And that's just different strokes. So everybody's a little different. So, but just understand that for me, Seth, when it's a little less concrete, I know that I might leave you, a little more in the dust, and you know, I am actually hashtag sorry, not sorry. I am actually sorry for that. Anyway, so the idea here is use cases. The biggest thing I want you to take away from what we've done so far is this idea that it's an external view of the system. The behavior of the system is what we understand. The impact on an external entity could be a human user, could be, but it's anybody who's sort of consuming that interface to the system. It could be another system that's talking to that system. Could be viewed as a set of APIs so that the consumer is a programmer who's writing to those function calls, right? Or calling those methods, whatever form that API takes. So the end user could be software that's writing to it, and the software is being built by a developer, right? So that's kind of the big thing, and that's why we draw this actor, somebody acting as the stick figure. Okay. And then here's the one we talked a little bit about this. So I'm going to kind of keep that up over here on the right. But here's some things. Describes the use, names it, shows the actors, relationships between use cases. We talked about the notion that it could be viewed as a thread of execution. Thread, not threat. A thread of execution. I talked about how it can't be comprehensive. It doesn't scale. It's very, very difficult, and you wind up overloading your world with too many use cases. Like, guy shows up at the coffee shop and he doesn't have any change. Okay, guy shows up at the coffee shop without the change and is missing a shoe. And then if all of these induced, especially if every one of these induces different behavior, you can begin to see how use case design is tied pretty strongly to black box test design, right? Black box testing, where I can't see how it's doing what it does. I hope you get somewhere in our program where we talk about black box versus white box, but you can't tell how it's being done. But you do know as a user of the black box that I flip the lever and it makes a sound, or whatever, does whatever it does. I can see its behavior from my perspective. All right. So this is the actor. We're underlining that guy in red just to point out that that's the actor. Then these are the actors: trading manager, trader, salesperson, accounting system. Okay. Notice that accounting system is also a stick figure, as is trading manager, trader, and salesperson, who do appear to be people, very featureless people. All right, the actors, here's what they do. They carry out use cases. They're the ones they're driving this view of the world. You can have multiple actors carrying out one use case. You can have one actor carrying out multiple use cases. So it's kind of a many to many in the end. And I mentioned this, they don't have to be human. Think of it more as roles that are being played, and the role can be played by another system. Um, and then this some personal preference, right? Um, some like to show every external system so that every system is shown, in either one diagram or multiple diagrams, um, or every human actor, right? And some like to indicate who's the initiator, so I could see all these, like maybe a trading manager sends a trader who talks to a salesperson who interacts with the accounting system. You know what I mean? You can have this flow that involves, more actors, all of them interfacing with an external view of the system as opposed to the internal operational details, which we start to get to when we talk about class diagrams next time. Um, okay. And another thing, can I just beat this into your head again? The number one requirement for great design is empathy, and studying use case design causes you to think empathetically because you aren't all these different people. How when you watch a movie, there's a character, or you read a book, and you got attach yourself to a character. You know what I mean? Or when you play a game, you play chess. There's a piece that's you. Usually, it's the king or the queen, because those are the big, the powerful pieces, or at least very, very important. But you watch a movie, right? Well, sometimes what you'll find is that there's an actor, and you really relate to this particular actor in your set of use cases, and therefore you'll find that it's easier for you to write use cases for that actor because you intrinsically get what that actor is about. And then there's other actors that are not, intrinsically you're in your comfort zone, and you're going to struggle to write the use cases for those actors. But it's critical that you get your head around it if you're architecting it at that. Really, Walter, you're a knight? You're the knight. I like that. Nice. I don't know what I am. I got to think about that. Um, all right. Let's see. Some other ideas. Some of the actors are people. That's obvious. We've talked about that, right? Role actors. Sometimes there are system actors, automated device or automated system with which the product interacts. So it's still in this role of interacting with the external views of the system. Um, there are what they call time actors, which are time-based triggers. An alarm goes off. I don't know. That's a good time-based trigger as an alarm goes off. Um, let's see. And other actors, just other non-human systems that interact with the product, whatever that is. They all count as actors. Um, so a couple of questions and how we do it. I piddled around until we burned all our time. But, I'm claiming that this is the most common starting place for analysis. Real quick, why do you think? Give me your comments. Um, But so it's the most common, but it's not exclusively the right starting spot. And as you can see in bullet 2, not all use cases show up from thinking about the user. Okay. There are use cases that you're thinking about interactions between systems, external interfaces, external behaviors, a kind of a bigger, broader architectural kind of level. And I'm waiting for comments here on you know, the common, the common starting place. Gunnar said, because actors are concrete things that you can start to base other things off of. Yeah, yeah. The other thing is typically when you build a system that has an external customer, if you will, you think about that customer. Even if you misunderstand the customer, and that's one of the reasons why you look at use case analysis, is because you think you understand the customer and maybe you don't. Maybe that's the problem. Other external events, like the weather drops below freezing, and external events that trigger um, some behavior. Okay, what about include? Let's take a peek at this. Um, so the idea is that there are use cases which have dependencies on another use case. So it's kind of like, I could say, guy goes into a restaurant, he walks over to the little counter, he sits down, he orders food, he reaches in his pocket, and he doesn't have any money, right? And then you could say, okay, next use case. Man walks into a restaurant, walks over, sits down, orders food, reaches his pocket, and he has a credit card. Okay. And you don't have to say all that. That's the idea. So it's the restaurant scenario. Only it's like restaurant scenario, cash. Restaurant scenario, no form of payment. Restaurant scenario, credit card. Restaurant scenario, gift card. And you don't have to, keep saying all the details of the restaurant scenario. Just a way of abstracting. That should make easy sense. Martin Fowler, use include when you're repeating yourself in two or more separate use cases and you want to avoid repetition. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Honestly, that's a lot more understandable than this freaking picture right here. Okay, generalization. Um, Related idea. I think what I was actually doing was probably more generalization. Um, when one scenario is a special case of another, I was really talking about more like generalization, but I think it relates very strongly to this idea of include. You get all the information of the original plus the special. So I kind of misspoke. I think it's really more generalization that I was talking about. Um, yeah, it does. It does remind me of ER diagrams. Um, and yeah, it's going to remind you actually of a lot of things. So Fowler says, use generalization when you're describing a variation on normal behavior and you wish to describe it causal, not casually. Casually? Has to be casually. What do they say? Causally. Um, okay. Then we've got this idea of extend. Again, these are not that, in my view, and I know this is heresy, not that important. Um, So the extend, we've got this regular customer buys a product, and we've got these ideas, but check it out. It's kind of like generalization, but it's more specific and more detailed. Fowler says use extend when you're describing a variation on normal behavior and you wish to use the more controlled form, declaring your extension points in your base use case. Yeah. Right. So I don't even know. I don't even remember. I think I went through this once and then it was lost to my brain, which really makes my point. Um, just understand that you can take something and sort of extend it. Good enough. Are we good for that? And then here's some example, and let me see. Yeah, this is one where they've got, and I've got my big screen over here again, which is why I'm looking over here. I've got uh, the general notion of a passenger, and then I've got specializations. The tour guide is a kind of passenger. Now we're doing generalization, specialization. Um, a minor passenger is a specialization of a passenger. Passenger with special needs is a specialization of a passenger. Okay, so that part should be fairly straightforward. Then we've got a group check-in, an individual check-in, and security screening. I don't necessarily like this diagram, by the way. Just trying to show you the features, and you can go build your own. But group check-in can only be done by a tour guide. Individual check-ins can be done by an individual passenger who could be a tour guide, a minor passenger, or an unspecialized generic passenger. And security screening, again, is something that individual passengers go through. The problem I don't like with this is that the group check-in includes individual check-ins, but doesn't seem to include individual security screenings, but that would have to be part of it. You know what I mean? There's a funny disconnect that it's kind of an anti-Norman perspective, right? Makes you store this crap in your head. There's also individual check-in can be specialized as counter, specialized as kiosk. Give me the kiosk any day of the week. Individual check-in can be extended with baggage check-in. And these, how does that work? Are extended with baggage handling. You know, hopefully that at least gives you, I just don't, one of my other problems, right? So I think Fowler's stuff is great. On Balance is great. I met Fowler, crap. Okay, this is where I become old, and Martin too. But I think it was 96. Yeah. Yeah, it was 96 when I met Martin Fowler. So what is that, 26 years ago? Great guy, like really, really nice guy, charming guy, gentleman. But I don't like the examples. I'm sorry, Martin. I don't like the examples in the book. And I know it's hard to do real examples, but to me, I'm always looking at them and I see what the notation is. I see that you're showing me the notation, but I don't get from it a clean sense of here's how you would do a really good design with that. That's my problem. Okay. Okay, we're on 23. We got 7 more to get through this stuff. If we have any time, we'll do a little more. A little more. Norman. Where did I come up with Norton? Okay. All right. So, use case model. So it really is. So a use case, the entire model involves a diagram and anything else you need. Narrative text is really, really important, right? I mean, case in point, we just got done with this thing, and now you're left with a lot of guessing. And what's the thing that's most helpful? The text. You're like tour guide, minor passenger, group check-in, right? And you can extrapolate. But if you had text that explained, the travel guide comes, here's whatever, here's how we interface with the system. It would be very, very helpful. And anything else, photographs, personas. We haven't really talked about personas, but personas essentially are where we'll think of a person, but it's not an actual individual, so we call it a persona. We give them names. So our coffee shop guy, maybe we call him Carl the coffee shop guy. And that's a persona, right? And then Carl and Carol meet for coffee, and there's some dynamics, but we make him, attach what's their motivation. Carl is an accountant, he works in the building next to the coffee shop, right? I mean, you're trying to set up a very common slice, but you're trying to make it as vivid and real as possible so that when you do your design, it kind of comes to life. Okay. So anything else, screenshots, photographs, whiteboard designs, anything, because what you're really trying to do, remember going all the way back to when I introduced patterns. At some level, patterns are a way of just hanging on to knowledge and just storing knowledge. And so storing knowledge has no value unless you can convey the knowledge, right? That's kind of a given. So these diagrams and these models are only valuable if I can convey with it some key idea out to other people. I can also overlay a flow of events, like pre and post conditions, like what's the world before this use case happens. Now, when I'm done with the use case, what happens, right? Beforehand, Carl wants a ticket, and afterwards, Carl has a ticket. See what I mean? You can identify primary paths, which is what's supposed to happen most of the time, in the context of the use case, right? And the use case may be the most abstract generic case or not, but whatever the context of the use case is, right? The use case is Carl goes into the coffee shop. It's not, Carl is going to spend Tuesday. That's a different, broader context. The coffee shop's a narrower context. Okay. Alternate paths, right? Less common flow that also leads to that post condition. Exception path, where conditions lead to not arriving at the post condition. Something happens. A car barrels into the coffee shop. So how do we derive it? This is important, okay? This is actually important. Of all the things I say are not important, this is one that actually is. We have 6 slidolas to go. How do you come up with these? And this is really important because, to me, use cases are where you really get your requirements game on. And you should be talking about requirements somewhere, okay? But requirements elicitation is really, really difficult, okay? It's very, very hard to elicit requirements. But if you don't get it right, the company goes belly up. That's the problem. You've got it right because you're going to build a product. The dogs have to want to eat the dog food. And if you make dog food and no dog will eat it, you blew the requirements. The requirement was not dog food. The requirement was dog food that dogs will eat, right? And then you can put some other requirements like help make them healthy and a shiny fur coat, shed all over your couch, right? You with me on this? So if you have dog food, I can make dog food. I'll just go get some mud and some grass from the backyard and go, there, dog food. If I'm going to try to make a dog food company out of that, I'm still screwed because no dog is going to eat my dog food. Okay, so requirements are really, really hard to get it really right. And when you nail it, everything goes boom. Okay? So rancid, really? Seeds, rancid cheese? Your dog eats rancid cheese? Wait. What tastes like rancid? Oh, dog. Wait. Are you saying Seth tried it, or is there a different individual named Andrew that actually? You're saying it tastes that they tried dog food? Is that what you're saying? Seeds that somebody tried dog food and said it tastes like rancid cheese? Thank you, Mike. Mike comes in as the interpreter. That is what he's saying, Chuck. Thank you, Mike. No. Oh man, no. Okay, new topic. Rancid cheese. Okay, but do you understand? You've got to get it right. And one of the things that kills companies, especially startups, is you get the three people, 5 buddies, that started a company, right? And one of them's like, well, I think it should be this. And the other one's, I think it should be this. And you're just blowing smoke. You're just pulling stuff out of the air. You got to figure out a way to know what, what it is. Yeah. Sorry, I'm tired. So you can go to different documents that exist. Are there any business documents, business process models? Did anybody document the business? Did anybody do requirement solicitation? Look in the project documentation. Are there keywords that pull out key ideas? Look at the organizational models. Look at, talk to key stakeholders. You have to figure out, right? And the thing about use cases and use case models, is that I can show it and talk to somebody, and it's more like a demo. I can say, hey, then we do this, then they do this does here, and then they can be, okay, got it. Now what happens if they, etc. So, for example, and I've taken Uber as an example of an amazingly well-designed product, right? And again, this harkens to 305G, where we try to learn how to not, engage in logical fallacies. To praise the product of Uber is not, it is being agnostic about the company Uber. You know what I mean? I don't have any feelings really up or down. I just know that you can praise a product and it doesn't mean you're advocating or supporting the company. Okay, because you got to be able to talk. Just like there are, you know, bands that have made songs that I think are amazing, but you know what I mean? But I wouldn't want my brother or sister dating one. You know what I mean? One of the people in the band. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and yet the music can on its own be an amazing product. Okay, but you've got to be able to get the use case design right. And so this really is just trying to express to you, you got to hit every resource available to you. And to the extent you don't, you got to go get some. Because if you get this wrong, you're dead. Company dead, product dead. Okay. So here we're talking about, you guys are incorrigible, by the way. Thank you. Dry cat food. Ugh. Thank you. Keep going. Whatever. I'll watch that video later. And like, I don't know, vomit in my wastebasket or something. Okay, deriving use cases. And I want to just see. Yeah, everything from here on out has the same header, which is deriving use cases. So here's some things you've got to do. You've got to understand the nature of the system or you're dead. Um, when you understand the nature of the system, you've got early, this notion of kind of early clues about use cases. Anything the system can do can be a use case. Okay, tell me real quick. I want to answer to this question. What is the danger? It's in the slide. What is the danger of starting your deriving use cases and you're starting with a known system capability? Just any ideas? Give you a minute. Yeah, what do you mean, seeds? What do you mean by overshoot or miss the mark? Yeah, no, right. So Seth, I think, is dead on, closest so far to being dead on. You're biased toward what it can already do, but when you're doing use case design, you're trying to figure out at some level what it should do, right? If you're like, well, it does this, you're already telling me, you're already painting me in a corner, right? Yeah, you don't think outside the box, correct, Seth? Um, yeah, right. So seeds, you try to force use cases into utilizing that system capability, sure. But maybe that's not what this thing needs to be doing. And there's a lot of that kind of like really myopic thinking that just kills product design, just kills it. Um, yeah, James, it makes the system too rigid, not open for adaptive changes. Yeah, that's right. But mostly it just paints you in a corner too early. Okay, understand the boundaries. Understand where the lines are between we're now outside the system and we're inside the system. The other thing that goes along with that is resisting the urge to say, and then this is a hash table that blah, blah, blah. This is a linked list that blah, blah, blah. This is a table in a relational database that blah, blah, blah. No, it's a data store. It's not a relational database yet, unless your product is, some kind of SQL database, whatever, right? I mean, unless your product, unless the implementation is somehow inherent in the product itself, you know, like if you say it's a house and I'm like, no, it's a mobile home. Well, if the point is that it's a mobile home, then you kind of have to talk about that. Okay. Um, where am I? So here's the rest of what we do when we derive use cases. Identify the actors, um, what they want or need from the system. You can understand the personas that might fill the role of these actors. Um, yeah, what about that one? What about this one? What value does that bring? What value does that bring? Typo. If you understand the various personas that could fill the role represented by the actor, what value does that bring? What do you think? I'm going to wait. And there says interlude personas, but we've already done the interlude of personas. I wait. Anybody? Bueller? Yeah. So, right. So, Seed said, Seth zoned out. Seed said, who you're designing it for. Right. And the way that I would put that is the question was, it's the one in the slide, Seth. What value does that bring? Right. To understand the personas that could fill the role represented by the actor. For starters, the persona, because you're like, wait, what does an accountant do? Well, when it's not tax season, he probably sits in the restaurant and has his coffee, but maybe when it's tax season, he's busy, so he has to grab the coffee on the go. And because he's an accountant, you think about coffee to go, whereas maybe when you weren't thinking about the accountant per se, and you just said customer, but it was generic, and you don't get outside the mindset that you paint yourself in a box again. And back to what personas do. Um, yeah, no, landing correct. You know how they're likely to respond to certain things, and again, it gives you it aids the creative process, makes the world a little more three dimensional. Oh dear, can I make it? Can I make it? Yeah, we can make it. Um, Figure out what these actors are doing. Those are the use cases. Okay. And then the use case diagram becomes your mechanism for documenting the process. And then this last bullet is so important. It has to be kind of a living document. As you understand more, you refine the diagram. Okay. And you figured something else out, you clarify it, you add clarity. Okay. What's really a waste, not a complete waste, largely a waste, is building a document and then it never evolves. It never grows. And so pretty soon the system changes because systems always change. And then you're out of sync from the diagram, then the diagram's worthless. So one other kind of true principle, there's a principle that says never measure something that you're not prepared, you know, to act on what you learn from the measurements, right? A similar thing here. Never create a document that you're not willing to evolve as the world that it represents changes. Um, Seeds asks, How deep do you need to go with actors? Like when coming up with a use case diagram for a website, would you make a DDoS, denial of service attacker, an actor and plan for that scenario? If you know, and that's a great question. If you're trying to look at security, absolutely, right? And it depends on how much detail you want, where you're going to get that specific. You know that you're going to talk about a DDoS attacker. But if you're going to talk about the security threats that are coming to this wall and how you interact with that, yeah, why not? Okay, this is our fundamental punchline, my friends. There's only two more slides. What is the actual purpose of this process? And the first big one is to understand the requirements. Because sometimes you'll say, wait, what if this guy wants his coffee to go? And you're like, oh, we don't deal with that. Now you just discovered something that the requirements document should have dealt with, but doesn't. What if he's already drinking coffee and now he needs to go? Well, you didn't talk about that, right? Etc. So understanding the requirements, understanding the way that a user interacts with the system, understand the system's behavior from the user's perspective, and then check what the system thinks it wants to be against what the user needs it to be. And that's the big problem you understand of being a developer, being an engineer. You have a best guess, but you've got to get the requirements right. And if your requirements are wrong, your company loses. Okay? And if they lose really big, you're dead. If they lose just a little, you're losing money. And if you're losing money, you're not growing. And if you're not growing, you're thinking about shutting everything down and laying everybody off and stop paying salaries. Nobody's making any money, which is why you exist in a company, in a corporate context, right? Without that, it's not everything, but it's necessary, or you don't get to do anything else. You know, you got to pay the rent. As I like to say, you have to pay the rent on the sandbox, or you can't play. That's bottom line. Once you've got the rent paid, you can do all kinds of cool things, which are not necessarily about money. Okay. And then this is sort of our last one. Uh, it can be really creative and sometimes very regimented. This is an interesting thing, and it largely deals with the age of the company. Is this startups? Are these, long? The more dynamic your company is, the more creative this process is. And the smaller your company is, the less regimented things tend to be. The bigger it is, the more regimented it tends to be. Okay. So you'll usually see this extreme of startup companies with, a lot of creative unknowns. It's the orders of ignorance again. A lot of unknowns, all the way to these big companies. You're NASA, there's not a lot of unknowns. There's a lot that's known, you know. I mean, we went to the moon 50 years ago. I'm not saying it's the same way to get there. I suppose it's the same way to get there. But, the technology is not the same. There's things that have changed in terms of what we can now do. But it's a lot more. The process is heavier, right? And just understand that you're going to be more structured in a big company with a lot of structure and process, and it's going to be a lot more creative and dynamic in a small company, or a company with a lot of creative flexibility. Okay, that, my friends, is my speech about use cases, and therefore we have a couple minutes. I want to throw a couple more. Oh man, let me see. Where was it? Hang on a second. Okay, we did get through all of that one. Okay, just a second. Sorry, being dumb and waiting. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, I'm spinning here. I can just maybe show it to you on my phone. I've got it on my laptop, but I'm gonna show it to you on my phone, which I think is gonna be just about. It's gonna be faster for sure. Okay, I talked about this, but this, if you can see it, hang on, let me kill my light just so you can maybe see this. That's a straight down shot of a just a faucet, public restroom somewhere. I can't get that. There we go. Okay, what's the problem? So am I back, Kevin? The problem is note the depth. You've got this thing going all the way back there. Here we go. You got this thing set that far back, this much sink while that guy is getting his little faucet game on, and then about an inch from where the faucet comes out till you get to the edge. What you can't really see clearly is all the water spray everywhere, and that happens to be right directly over the drain. And then this much of the sink is basically just wasted because you got to just about put your hand on the sink back edge to get it under the water. And then at that position, you're right next to the edge and the water's going everywhere. It's just, I've seen this so many. Yeah, no, the drain is actually there. The drain is just, I took it directly above. So the drain is just below the round part of the faucet. Yeah. Anyway, but it's just like, you saw your system. We're about out of time. You apparently saw your system as we need a counter and a sink and a drain and temperature thing. That's what you saw it as. You didn't actually think through. Then somebody comes to wash their hands and you've given them 1 inch over here and like 6 inches over there with which to wash their hands. You know, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Anyway, that's it. We'll come back Wednesday. Let's stay remote for now. I'll gut check and then I'll do the big reveal at some point. Okay, my friends, get out of here. Don't forget to do the attendance.